So as a homeowner, what should I do first after a hailstorm affects my home? All right, so let's say a big hailstorm just rolled through your entire neighborhood and all your neighbors are talking about it. Your garden and your plants are all messed up. Maybe there's even dents in your car and you're pretty sure that your roof took a hit. So what should you do first? Now, the first few days after a hailstorm matter more than people realize because the right moves can kind of protect you and the wrong ones, they really can cost you. All right, so here's the part that most homeowners, they don't really know is that hail damage can be a little bit deceptive. So what I mean by that is a roof can look completely fine from the street, right? Or even if you get up on a ladder and just glance around, and it can still have dozens or hundreds of hail impact bruises to the roof. And those impacts can cut years of service life off of your roof. Also, keep in mind that there's a clock running here, okay? So both on your insurance claim and the service life of the roof. So you need to take action in order for your insurance to kick in. What do I look for to tell that my roof is damaged by hail? And there's a lot of information about that. But I like to start with a pretty simple rule. My recommendation as a homeowner is to stay off your roof. And here's why. First of all, being on your roof is obviously dangerous, but it can be particularly dangerous after a hailstorm because you get all this granule shedding off of the roof from the hail impacts, and those can make it a little bit slick. Keep in mind also that walking on a freshly impacted roof can create more damage. I have seen homeowners create damage to their own roof, walking on it inappropriately, etc. And then an insurance adjuster will come out and see that, and it can kind of compromise your damage. So I just recommend staying off your roof and having a professional inspection. But there are some things that you can figure out on your own. First, walk the perimeter and look for soft metals because soft metal is kind of an honesty meter. So these are gonna be your gutters and downspouts, even a metal mailbox, metal vents, and naturally, you're gonna wanna look at your car. Dents to metal are a pretty good indicator. The other thing is like the fins on your air conditioner, right? So the condenser fins, you'll see impacts and dents on those. Look at the bottom of your downspouts, you'll find potentially piles of granule. So these itty bitty little rocks that are on the top of the shingle, and you'll start finding those all over your driveway, maybe on your walkway, and especially, built up and deposited in your gutter trays quite a bit. If you're seeing enough stuff that's the right size of dent, you'll know, hey, I've got enough other what we would call collateral damage around the property. It certainly justifies getting an inspection, and most professional roofing companies are going to do an inspection for you for free. So take advantage of that. So I've been a professional roofing contractor for 15 years in Colorado, and I definitely have a handful of stories and tales of what not to do after a hailstorm potentially damages your home. The most common one is frankly just waiting too long. People wait too long to get an inspection, or they wait too long to file a claim. They'll say, hey, I want to wait till the end of hail season, or it's not a good time right now. You want to document the damage, both the roofing company and the insurance company, while the damage is fresh. And I've seen my fair share of people who waited too long. Every day after the hailstorm, your chances of getting that covered by your insurance company can go down. It's true. I've seen it in every single hailstorm I've helped people with. The second mistake I've seen people make is don't make repairs to your roof right away, okay? So I had a homeowner in Broomfield. I looked at his roof after the hailstorm. He had gotten up there the morning after the hailstorm and he put black sealant in hundreds of places where the hail impacts were. The problem with that is it compromises our ability to get good photos for us and the insurance company to document that damage. So he had good intentions. Keep in mind, if you're worried about water getting into the roof, any professional roofing company can just tarp it, then that tarp can be lifted up, the damage can be documented, and then put it back down to keep your home secure. Now, in that case, luckily, that homeowner in Broomfield did eventually get his roof replaced by the insurance company, but we had to fight a little bit with the insurance company and convince them that even though he'd done repairs to mitigate the damage, they should still cover his roof, but it definitely put the process in question. So I don't recommend doing that. How to tell if your roof actually has hail damage. So this question can trip some people up because hail damage is not always, dramatic and an obvious thing that people might picture. A lot of real, claimable damage, it looks like nothing to the untrained eye. So what we're actually looking for as professionals is what we would define as bruising. This is spots where the hail knocked off these protective granules and it made them loose, and it leaves that section of the shingle kind of soft. And that exposes the asphalt underneath and the fiberglass mat. And now it's exposed to the sun, which starts shortening the roof's life. Now, luckily, there's a pretty clear professional standard for how bad is bad. And the rule of thumb that we use and that most insurance companies use is 10 damaging impacts within a 10-foot by 10-foot test square. So we will literally chalk mark, using sidewalk chalk, the hits in our test square. We're just gonna pretend this is 100 square feet, so this is be 10 by 10, okay? And we'll literally chalk mark the hits in that square, to count them to determine if that elevation or that side of the roof is totaled, meaning it can't really be repaired and it should be replaced. So if we find that level of damage, on 3 of 4 sides of the roof, then the roof is generally considered totaled. And in our experience, the overwhelming majority of the time, your insurance company is gonna agree. And even if they don't, we have a process for that. Okay, so you found granules around your property, there's dents to your car, dents to your gutters. Question is, how long do you have to file an insurance claim for your roof? This is one where if you get it wrong, it can quietly cost people the most because waiting too long can take the decisions out of your hands entirely. Most homeowners policies require you to file within a set window of time after the date of loss. Date of loss is when the damage occurred, and that's often around a year, but keep in mind it varies by insurance carrier and policy. So do check yours and do not assume. But keep in mind the practical advice matters more than the exact deadline. Rule of thumb is do not wait. 2 things will work against you over time. First, the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to tie the damage to a specific storm event, which is exactly what an insurance company needs to approve that claim. Second thing is that the damage does not sit still, okay? So that means that a bruised shingle is gonna keep aging and it can weather pretty quickly into a small hole, and that can compromise your roof, obviously. So a roof that would have qualified right after a storm, that can turn into a bigger and potentially out-of-pocket problem if you sit on it. So the move is pretty simple here. Get a free inspection soon after a storm. Get that damage documented with good old-fashioned pictures, and then you can have the option to file on your timeline instead of scrambling against a deadline. All right, so what do you do after a hailstorm? We recommend staying off the roof, check for signs from the ground, and then get it professionally inspected and get the damage documented with good old-fashioned pictures. Don't just sit on it and do nothing. If you do that, you keep all of your options open, right? You can file a claim or not, you can repair it or replace it, depending on what's necessary. That is what we do. So if a storm has hit your home anywhere on the Front Range of Colorado, we'll get on the roof, we'll check for damage, and we're gonna tell you the truth, whether or not you end up hiring us. And the roof inspection is always free. I'm Patrick with WestPro Home Exteriors in Longmont, Colorado. Thank you for watching.